Okay, so the next type of 3D printing technology we have here is called DLP, which actually stands for Digital Light Processing. So this is very similar to SLA, stereolithography, but it's actually quicker, and it's a slightly, well, these types of printers haven't been around for quite as long. The way they work is under here. The reason these lids are always colored, by the way, is because they're UV proof, so when you take it off, it doesn't harden it. Sorry, when they're on, they don't harden the resin. Okay, so in here we've got an ultraviolet LCD screen, and what that does is it flashes up a layer of the model. Now, a layer of the model is literally, if you had a 3D model and a slice was taken through it, it would be, what would that slice look like? And each slice might only represent like the thickness of about 0.05 millimeters, or even less if you wanted a high quality print. So yes, that literally flashes that image of the layer into the resin, and the resin bath sits on top of there, and we fill that up with resin. And in the resin bath, each layer will then cure and it will harden. It's a little bit like cameras work, where you have a sensor where when it's exposed to light, it will then pick up that image, but the exposure is dependent on how light it is. So each resin has its own exposure time. So yeah, it says here normal exposure 8 seconds. So that means each time it flashes an image on there, it'll hold it for 8 seconds and then it will turn it off. Then this build plate here, it actually builds the model upside down, will then move up by, say, 0.05 millimeters, and then it will do it again, and so on and so forth until it eventually builds up and you get a part that comes off. So, I'll show you an example actually. Here's a part that was built with DLP. Now this one looks worse than it actually is, it's just because it's done with a transparent resin, but yeah, so the part would come out literally stuck to the top of it like that. Now the advantages of this printing technology are, you can see here, we can get solid walls. There's no infill on here, so you can get much stronger parts. The range of resins you can get, like, I mean, these are just standard ones, but you can get a very wide range of resins. Yeah, you can, if you can actually find in here this little book, you can see in here actually, these are all the different types of resins you can get. So if I were you, I'd actually pause the video now and you can see, then you can specify that in your manufacturing plan. Yeah, so these print solid parts, they're really strong and they're incredibly high resolution. I mean, this came off the printer and you can see that surface finish, you can just see the layering. But if that was FDM, you can see here is on FDM printing, the quality of the surfacing is way lower. Like that's much more rigid in there, and yeah, you can see we've got the infill, and this one also failed. Like FDMs are much more likely to bend and bow and fail like that, which is kind of annoying. So yeah, these are actually, I found these ones far less problematic, and they're actually quicker to print as well because they expose the entire layer all in one go. Unlike FDMs, which have to trace the layer bit by bit, go round and round and round until it finishes, and then it will move up, and then it will do it again. Same with the SLA, it has to trace the entire layer before it then moves up to the next layer. This one just flashes the whole layer, turns off, moves up, does it again, and so on and so forth. So these ones, once you've finished the print, you have to literally take the print out, you chuck it into a water bath, you put the water bath onto here, and that spins the water around just to wash off any excess resin. You then take it out of the water bath and you dry it. Then you put it onto this little, like, Lazy Susan, as it's called. You turn this on. So I put it on like that, and then I would put the lid back on again. This is a UV-proof lid, and I'd select Cure on the curing station. I'll turn this to about 15 minutes or something. And then what happens here, if you can see it, then just rotates the model. Bit by bit, it will then cure and harden the resin, so then it makes it really strong and hard, and it completely dries it, because when resin comes off the printer, it's quite sticky and it's quite hard to clean it, and then the UV basically just takes care of that. It makes it like really solid.